Yep, nobody cares. Why are you sitting over there overthinking on starting your brand and making videos the right way when nobody cares about your brand or your business yet? Why are you being a baby, man? You're already a grown-ass adult, okay? This message is also for me, by the way. But don't worry, I got you. I'm gonna give you 3 steps you can do right away after finishing this video. And this is also great because now I have a reason to roast both of us at the same time. Because I remember being a teenager around like 20 years ago watching Smosh blow up on YouTube. And I just kept thinking, well, I can do that too. Well, if I could, then why didn't I? Because I was dumb and I didn't take any action, that's why. So how about you not being a baby like me and just getting started now? So you might not know this yet, but I'm on a mission to prove to you and to myself that anyone passionate enough with a clear mission and consistency can make $1 million in 1 year with their brand. And I'm gonna prove that by posting my process here on this channel with a newsletter and with a merch brand. So stick around to see if I can make it. And this segues into a word from my sponsor, the subscribe button. Click on subscribe and join my newsletter with the link below, or I'm going to put the links to everything I'm going to talk about in this video, and you're going to see exclusive stuff for people on my newsletter only. Anyway, here's an interesting problem that I ran into that stopped me from making videos earlier. I just didn't want to look cringe. And I'm going to guess with 100% certainty, that's what you might be thinking too. But hey, here's a secret I don't tell too many people, so keep this in between the both of us, okay? But I already started doing a YouTube channel about 7 years ago. And let me tell you, it was embarrassing as hell, man. I remember 7 years ago, I tried really hard for like 2 to 3 months. And then my wife became pregnant with our first kid. So we had to stop, and I started focusing more on design work, you know, that actually brought money. That channel had too many problems, but one of those was that I made videos about way too many different things. It was just a mess. And the worst part about it, it was cringy as hell. I still get embarrassed just by thinking about it, you know? Especially I had this whole stupid vibe of like, hee, look at me, I'm wholesome and dumb, I'm gonna be like PewDiePie. I was so innocent back then too, you know, with my full 8 hours of sleep, or I had no kids. It was so easy. And although those videos were embarrassing as hell, like, it actually taught me a lot. First of all, it taught me not to be too boring and to not talk about different things. I remember trying to focus on like 15 different topics. It was a mess. I remember I had the goal of making 50 videos at a time, and I actually did accomplish that. I was pretty proud of that. But you know what the best thing I learned on those videos? I learned that being cringe is not your real enemy. The real enemy, like the hidden Elden Ring boss, is actually you thinking that people care. Look, when you start getting one person to care about your videos and leave a comment is one of the hardest things. And most of the time, people get hate when they're at a certain level of success, and by then, people who think you cringe just won't matter to you anymore. So you just gotta embrace the cringe. You gotta live in it, be molded by it, become the cringe. You gotta stop caring if you look cool and just go for it. Yeah, of course you're gonna be awkward and cringy at the beginning, you know. All those videos I made back then, you know, and many more videos after, and I'm still not 100% used to it. But you have to keep practicing and learn how to get better. And now if I think about it, the cringiest part for me is when I just start thinking that I don't want to look cringe, you know. That's when you gotta go and look even more cringe. This thing is weird, man. You're talking directly to a camera. It's weird as hell. At the end of the day, that's just you being afraid of failing and afraid of what others think. But, you know, the antidote to that is just failing more, so much more, that you're not gonna care anymore, you know? There's no other way of going about it. And also, there's an even bigger problem you gotta think about. When thinking about the brand you're building or you wanna build, here's a huge lesson I wish I had learned earlier. Figure out the tasks that actually move you forward. The best way I figured this out was doing Caleb Ralston's course, which I talked about in depth in the first video I posted in this channel. That video is gonna set you up and make you ready to rock. And also watching Dan Cole's videos about him optimizing his life made me evaluate my own life and how much time I have and what is realistic for me to do. So after evaluating all of that, I figured out that the task that moved my brand forward, it's this you're watching right now. It's me making videos like this, also writing newsletter posts, and designing cool clothing art. And that's it. Now, I know that there are a lot of smaller tasks, between in order to make those three happen. But you know what's not gonna help? It's me researching 3 days about manga to write about, me getting lost setting up AI workflows to help me do all the research so I can have more ideas to write, and me reading 3 to 4 books a month on the economy and about investing. Look, that stuff can be important too, and each of them have their own place. But is that helping me put out videos faster? Is that really helping me finish a long list of newsletter posts that I need to do? And is that helping me sketch ideas for designs I have in mind? I think we both know the answer to that, yet it's so easy to get distracted on these side quests and NPCs that pretend to be the main characters, when they're not. And if you're anything like me, you know how easy it is to get distracted. Especially nowadays, we get bombarded everywhere with news and videos and stuff that has nothing to do with what you need to do right now. That by the end of the day just leaves you completely fried. So the more you focus on these important tasks every day, even if it's like 30 minutes, that's gonna compound so quickly. And in 1 year, I believe you'll be way ahead of someone who just grinded nonstop for like 4 months and they just got burned out. There's a lag between effort and results, especially with doing creative work and on things that matter. So the whole goal here is just to be consistent. But how do you even stay consistent? Well, it's actually a lot simpler than you think. Here's what I mean. Imagine you're trying to become more disciplined, and in order to do that, you gotta add 10 or more things to your day and make sure you do all those 10 things every single day for the rest of your life. But then you realize that there's 5 more things that you gotta add to be even more disciplined. And now you're managing every single minute of your day. And if you just mess one of those things up, like your whole day is ruined. Does that sound familiar to you? Because for me, it does. And bro, I can even imagine that being useful even if you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I think one of the biggest mistakes people do to become more disciplined or consistent is just adding more crap to do in their day. But the solution is actually doing the opposite. You have to eliminate all the unimportant crap in your day to leave only the essential things you need to do. But I think I can hear you thinking from here, but if I do that, man, I'm just gonna get bored. Yeah, exactly. That's the key to doing what you need. You gotta train your brain to tolerate boredom. Look, I understand why you're so afraid of being bored. I catch myself try to run away from being bored all the time. And it's not entirely our fault. We've been conditioned to run away from boredom by our stupid phones, That's one of our biggest enemies, especially if you're younger than me and you don't even know what a world without a smartphone is. Being on our phones and on social media all the time kills our attention span. And our dumb lizard brain just thinks we're supposed to get a dopamine hit on everything we do. But our brains were not designed to be hit with so much dopamine in a single day. So the best way to fight this is to just avoid your phone and distractions, for most of your day. I think the best and the first thing you should do is just spend the whole day being aware of how you spend your time and how often you get distracted. Write it down on a piece of paper or wherever it's easier for you. And then your ideal day should be you doing those tasks, that move your business forward. And then when you start feeling bored and you get that itch, you're only allowed to do 2 things. You either keep working or you do nothing. And by nothing, I mean literally nothing. It helps to stare at a wall even. Just force yourself to sit there and do nothing until your brain becomes bored of actually being bored, so you want to go back to work. Now, I wouldn't want or expect you to do this perfectly in your first day. You gotta start small with doing this for like 30 minutes per day. And then you do that so many times until it feels easy. And then you can expand to 1 hour, then 2, and so on. But if you can manage to do this for like 5 to 6 hours a day, holy crap, man, you're gonna outwork everybody. Even I'm not at that point yet. And the best part about trying this is that it's gonna eliminate your need for willpower or motivation. Doing the work will become part of your day, like eating or brushing your teeth. I know this is not an easy process, but if you can manage to do this, you're gonna be ahead of like 90% of people who are trying to do the same. Listen, man, you're already ahead of the curve with the stuff from this video. All you need to do now is actually have an actual brand strategy, and you will learn that in this next video. Okay, so best of luck.